Welcome back, guys. Well, today I'm out for a hike in the woods, and I want to talk to you a little bit about something very cool that we have in our Ontario woodlands and elsewhere in the country and in the US, are caves. Caves have been huge in the news these days, especially since the the unfortunate incident in Thailand where those children and the soccer coach were trapped in a rain-filled cave system. So I want to talk to you a bit about caves that we have here in our own province of Ontario. Stay tuned. So certainly I was glued to my TV when I was hearing all about those poor kids that were trapped along with their soccer coach in the cave there in Thailand. If you're not familiar with it, it's all over the news. Check it out, Google it. What happened was 12 kids and their soccer coach were trapped after hiking through a cavern. They got trapped during monsoon season where water filled up the caves, and they were trapped in a chamber, and they all had to be, extricated from there by a team all across the world, including Navy SEALs. They all made it out alive, except unfortunately for one Navy SEAL diver who passed away during the rescue efforts, who died a hero, really. So very tragic events, but it made me think of, I've been caving a few times here in our province of Ontario. We have several caves and old mines out there that you can explore, but obviously remember to do so safely. There are guided tours through caves, which I went on a couple years ago, so I'll talk a bit about that. And certainly, making sure you have flashlights, helmets, telling someone where you're going, and going with someone who's experienced in exploring caves and old mines, so you can have fun and be safe while you're doing so. So a couple of caves that I explored. One was in Warsaw, so near the Peterborough area. There's an extensive cave system there. It's lots of fun. The general public is allowed to go into them. Some are deep, some are really shallow, some with narrow passageways, some that you can kind of walk through a little bit better than others. We're in Shield country here. There's lots of really amazing rock formations, so they're lots of fun. I did the Warsaw cave trip many years ago. Most recently I came across a cave in the woods hiking with my friend. We just saw a few rocks piled up in the woods, and we kind of took a peek, and I could hear water running, and I looked down, and there was a cavern basically about 2 body lengths down. So knowing me being adventurous, we both, I went down first and took a peek, and I could see that there was one small cavern and some narrow passageways. Didn't venture down the narrow passageways, obviously, because it was an unexplored cave. I really don't want to be poking around and being the first person to see what's going on. I don't want to end up with an accident or something like that. But there's basically one big chamber. There was sand at the bottom, and you could hear water running sort of beneath. So I believe that was probably an old riverbed kind of going through there, carving its way through the rocks and leaving the sand deposits at the end of the day. So that was really neat. So I've got some pictures from that little trip. Here they are. All right, guys, this is really cool. I'm actually in a cave I found, so let's go take a look. Cavern down that way. You can hear water rushing. And if you look around here, the cavern that way. And you can see daylight. Neat. So if you want more of a supervised, more leisurely, easy caving experience rather than going down and doing the full-on, spelunking, there is a cave in Ontario called the Bon Cher Caves. It's a privately owned cave that was discovered by Tom Woodward back in the early 1950s. He discovered a sinkhole on this beautiful piece of Ontario Shield, and basically went down there with ropes, a helmet, a flashlight, and a dinghy, because there's lots of water rushing in there because the Bon Cher River is right nearby. So he navigated in pitch dark, full of water, very dangerous obviously, but discovered there was at least 5 passageways to this cave system. Some of the deeper areas are 100 feet underground. And he decided that he would probably market this to the public and offer tours. So what they had to do was pump all the water out and install lighting systems and little boardwalks underground. And it's really neat, it's lots of history there. So the Bon Cher Caves are actually quite young. There are 5 passageways, 2 of which are navigable. The caves were formed basically, by acidic water, that basically was rushing through various stone, dissolving away, the mineral, so that basically you end up with these caves. And basically it was an old tropical ocean in this area, so you end up with some really cool fossils as well. There's a large collection of Ordovician period fossils that you can find in that area and in the cave. And a lot of them you'll find are basically marine life, because those caves were part of a very large ocean, obviously, about 500 million years ago. So you'll find a lot of things, you know, related to things we currently see in the water, like old seaweed, some really young animals that were found in the water at that time. And it's home to the largest cephalopod fossil, and that's sort of the fossils from, you know, family like squid and things like that. So they have a huge one there, and when you go there they give you a tour. I think tours run every 30 minutes. They show you the fossils and tell you all about geology and how these caves were formed. It's really, really fun. So what I'm going to do now is take you on my trip. I went there 2 years ago. I did record a video for you guys 2 years ago, but I never ended up posting it. So I thought, you know, now that we're talking all about caves, caves are in the news. You may not know there are caves actually, you know, in Canada, in the US, that you can actually explore yourselves, but be safe about it. So here's my trip 2 years ago to the Bon Cher Caves in Douglas, Ontario. Guys, we're heading into the caves. It's pretty getting kind of cool. I think inside the caves it's about 10 degrees Celsius. Handy lighting. So I don't know if you can see this, but we're surrounded by limestone. There's lots of fossils from the Ordovician period. Yeah, it's very wet in here. There's some mineral deposits, stalactites. You guys can see me, but really neat formations formed by water that was a little bit acidic to carve away the shape of the wall.
Okay guys, so yeah, actually just all up and along here, you're going to notice what are known as stalactites. Now, we like to think we're really creative here at the caves, and so we named this room the stalactite room. That little fella, over 800 years old. So very, very slow growers. Now the largest stalactite we actually have down here tells us that our cave is approximately 12,000 years old, which is actually very, very young for a cave. So we just have a little wee baby cave here.
So there's a pretty big stalactite up here. Pretty cool. Right, I'm now going through a little crack in the wall. This is cool. You probably can't see me now.
You want to go? Or you want to go that way?
It's pretty neat. Oh, the water's ice cold and I'm walking through. If you have claustrophobia, this is not the place to be.
I could definitely fit in here. Not in that.
It's fairly narrow.
You can't go right up.
Go to the light. And I made it out the other side. That's cool. Some running water. It's pretty cool in there. Apparently in this area, thousands of bats used to overwinter. Now there's about 3 dozen since white nose syndrome, that fungal infection, has destroyed many of the populations. These caves are actually flooded in the wintertime to help preserve the caves and keep the temperature nice and cool year round.
Now that I do have you approximately 100 feet under rock, I would like to assure you that you are completely safe.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the little trip there into the cave, and just remember, there's lots of things to explore. There's old caves and mines to check out. Some are like the Bon Cher caves, where they are, very easy to kind of hike through and look around, and there's a guided tour, as you could hear on the video. There was a lady who was giving us some instructions about what was going on and what we were looking at, so that's super helpful. But there's also other places where you can explore on your own, but they don't necessarily have a tour guide to tell you what's going on. As always, be extremely safe. Tell someone where you're going. Make sure you're going out for the first time caving with someone who knows what they're doing. Some caving gets really intense, with ropes and helmets, and you're actually kind of rappelling down into a cave or a cavern. That's definitely, the higher level caving and spelunking. I've not done that kind of spelunking before. I've just done the ones where you can kind of crawl in, look around, or the guided tours like the cave video you just saw there. So always be safe, and let me know if you've gone on any kind of excursion like that into a cave, or if you've done some real spelunking. Let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget to like and share the video. I hope you guys have a great summer, and yeah, maybe on your roster of things to do this summer is to go check out an old mine or an old cave. Have a good week as always. Take care.